What if I told you the story of the Garden of Eden might not be fantasy, and that the real location could be right here in Africa? For centuries, scholars searched the Middle East, but the oldest human DNA, the oldest tools, the oldest civilizations, and even the oldest rivers all point somewhere else. Today, you're going to hear the version of Eden that was never taught in school, the version hidden beneath African soil. Welcome to Was the Garden of Eden actually in Africa? The evidence they never taught you. Let's begin. Part 1. The Bible mentions 4 rivers, but 3 are in Africa. In the book of Genesis, Eden is described as a place with 4 rivers.
Pishon,
Gihon, Tigris, Euphrates. The Tigris and Euphrates are in the Middle East. Everyone knows that. But the other 2? This is where the mystery gets interesting. The Bible says the Gihon River winds through the land of Cush, and Cush is not in the Middle East. Cush is Africa, specifically Ethiopia and Sudan. Then there's Pishon, the river said to flow through a land full of gold and precious stones. Archaeologists discovered an ancient dried riverbed in the Sahara, once flowing through areas rich in gold. It matches the description perfectly. 3 out of 4 rivers connected to African land? That changes everything. Part 2. Science says humans originated in Africa. Modern science discovered that all humans alive today descend from early ancestors in Africa. Mitochondrial DNA traces us back to a woman scientists call mitochondrial Eve. No, she's not the biblical Eve, but she lived in Africa around 150,000, 200,000 years ago. The oldest Homo sapiens fossils ever discovered, also in Africa, Ethiopia, Morocco, and South Africa. So if the story of Eden is an ancient memory, passed orally for thousands of years, it makes sense that the roots point back to Africa. Part 3. Ancient civilizations spoke of an African paradise. Long before European explorers, African civilizations passed down stories of a paradise of origin. The San people of southern Africa speak of a lush, divine garden. The Yoruba creation story begins at a sacred point on earth. Ethiopia's ancient texts speak of a sacred land at the beginning of time. These stories existed before contact with Europe or the Middle East. Different cultures, same idea. Humanity began in a garden-like land in Africa. Part 4. The geography lines up. Let's compare the biblical description with African geography. 1. Eden was described as warm. Africa is humanity's oldest warm climate. 2. Eden had abundant rivers. Africa is home to some of the world's oldest rivers. Nile, Zambezi, Niger. 3. Eden had gold. Africa is one of the richest gold regions on Earth, especially Ethiopia, Namibia, and the Sahara Belt. 4. Eden had unique animals. Africa is home to species found nowhere else. Exactly what an origin story would describe. When you stack the evidence, Africa fits the description better than the Middle East. Part 5. The Ethiopian Theory. Many historians point to Ethiopia as the most likely location of Eden. Why? It contains some of the oldest human fossils. Ancient Jews associated Cush with Ethiopia. The Gihon River reference connects directly to this region. Ethiopia's geography matches the lush highlands described in ancient texts. And there's something else. Ethiopia's Rift Valley is known as the cradle of humanity, the place where early humans first walked upright. If Eden symbolizes humanity's beginning, this is the strongest candidate to say. But 6, the Southern African theory. Other researchers point south, to a place so biologically rich that scientists call it the birthplace of modern humans. South Africa's ancient caves have preserved the oldest known human tools, the earliest fire usage, the oldest evidence of symbolic art, and the earliest known shelters. This area was once a lush paradise, nothing like the dry regions we see today. Was this another memory of Eden? Possibly. Part 7. Why the Middle East version dominated. If so much evidence points to Africa, why did the world assume Eden was in the Middle East? Simple. Most major religions were written or compiled by groups living around Israel, Babylon, and Persia. Naturally, they described locations familiar to them. And over time, the African clues were downplayed, reinterpreted, or simply ignored. But the original geography, it was always pointing south, toward Africa. So was the Garden of Eden actually in Africa? We may never know with absolute certainty. But science, geography, and ancient history all point in the same direction. Africa wasn't just humanity's cradle. It may have been the real inspiration behind the oldest paradise story ever told. If you enjoyed this deep dive, check out the next video on ancient African cities more advanced than medieval Europe, and make sure to subscribe for more untold African history.